We're here in Des Moines, Iowa, covering the Iowa caucuses. It's caucus day here with Senator John Thune from South Dakota. Hello, Senator Thune.
Good afternoon, Cameron.
It is good to see you, sir. Why do you support Governor Romney?
Well, I think he's the right leader for the times. You know, different times in our nation's history, we need different types of leadership. And what we've seen with the current president is someone who really believes profoundly that the way that you get the economy growing in this country is to create more government in Washington. And Governor Romney comes from a school where the jobs are created in the private economy. And he's had a lot of success in turning failed businesses around, turning the Olympics around, turning the state of Massachusetts around. And I think he's got the right leadership qualities that we need today. And I also believe he's the candidate that can win the general election in November. And right now, we have got to focus on making sure that this president doesn't get a second term. You look at what he's doing in terms of regulations, executive power, all things that it just makes this election really important to America's future, and really important that we get somebody who can win in November.
Talk to people who say Mitt Romney isn't conservative enough for them. You know, there's a host of candidates right now, some more conservative, some less conservative. The knock on Mitt Romney being he's not conservative enough. Talk to the people who think they might not support him, but if he's the GOP nominee, why do they need to support him regardless?
Well, you know, Bill Buckley, kind of one of the founders of the conservative movement, always said you want to nominate the most conservative, electable candidate. And I think that, to me, is Mitt Romney and the other candidates who are running this year are going to be basically in the same place on most of the major issues, but the question comes down to one of electability. There may be those who are slightly more conservative, but I think in terms of the issues that your audience is going to care about, he's in the right place. And I'm confident of that, or I wouldn't be supporting him. And, you know, I'm someone who's conservative pretty much across the board, and a big believer in our freedoms. And I think it's important that we have somebody who gets that in the White House. And I think Governor Romney does, and I believe he's going to articulate a message that involves a more limited role for the government, more personal freedom for people in this country, and free enterprise. Those are all the things he's going to be talking about in this campaign. And I think that's a winning message. But it's also, I think he's the person who can win that election in November, which is so important.
Put on your campaign manager hat. Let's say Mitt Romney is the GOP nominee. What is Barack Obama's biggest weakness?
I think that right now, his policies, he is making it, with his policies, more difficult and more expensive to create jobs in this country. And we need to have a president who is going to work hard to create jobs in the private economy, to get small businesses investing again. And so I think his record on the economy is abysmal. And I think that's going to come out during the course of the general election campaign. And I think the person who can best make that argument is Governor Romney because of his background and experience.
You being in the Senate, the House being controlled by Republicans, Senate being controlled by Democrats, talk about the down-ticket races as well and the importance of getting Republicans to control the Senate as well.
Well, it's huge because, as you know, you need a Republican president, particularly when it comes to the courts. And the biggest threat to a lot of our freedoms in the last few years has come through the courts. And so if you have some openings on the Supreme Court, for example, the president's going to nominate those positions, but the Senate ultimately has to confirm. And so we need a majority in the Senate that can ensure that we have a hedge against, God forbid, that we get a second Obama term, but the Senate's going to be the best way to hedge against that. So keeping the House, keeping and regaining the Senate, and winning the White House are really important, I think, if people care, and I believe most Americans do, about where this country is headed in terms of a lot of those freedom issues. And we need judges on the court that are going to be constitutionalists, who are going to see their role not as making law but as interpreting the laws in the Constitution. And we've got way too many today who really are trying to achieve their own political agendas on the bench, and that's got to end. And the best way to do that is a Republican Senate and a Republican president.
You were talking about executive orders and the other ways that President Obama bypasses you guys in the House and the Senate, with if it's an EPA regulation or if anything like that to diminish your role. You know, when you guys hear stuff like that, how do you feel about it, and what can you do to fight it?
Well, it's very frustrating because he has usurped and used in executive powers in ways we've never seen before. A lot of these regulations coming out of these agencies are really harmful to our economy. And I think the key is to elect a president who is going to use restraint, who is going to appreciate the traditional role that in our republic we have in separation of powers and checks and balances, and isn't going to go out there and try and achieve a political agenda that he couldn't accomplish through the normal political process, which would be going through the Congress. And that's what this president is doing. And a lot of the things he's trying to do, he knows don't have support in Congress, and so he is doing everything he can, using every power at his disposal to sort of legislate that agenda from his position in the executive branch, and we've got to stop that. And I think that getting a conservative president in there is the best way to do that, and to start rolling back some of these crazy regulations and policies that are coming out of this administration.
Last question, listeners or viewers who haven't been to your beautiful state, tell them why they should visit South Dakota.
Yeah, it's spectacular. I'll tell you, we had a terrific year again this year. I got many opportunities this year, more so than most, and I think a lot of it had to do with good weather we had, but to get out and enjoy pheasant hunting, and it's been phenomenal. And we, of course, we have it's a very diverse state, the Black Hills in the west, and just a lot of things to see and do. If you like the outdoors, you ought to come and see it.
Senator John Thune, thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Cameron.